Welcome to DrivenMavens.com. My name is Arvind, and on this next demonstration we are going to continue on with looking at how to just draw forms or draw certain objects with just simple shapes. So let's go. Now, one of the things that people hate drawing are these boxes. So I thought, well, how do we make these boxes a little bit more appealing? Or what can we actually draw and put something like that into context? So I thought about it, and we're going to do that right now as I start to draw some lines here in perspective. So I've got my 2-point perspective. May have to come back out here a little bit. And then there we go. So I'm just going to start drawing my box, and then as I draw these boxes, I'm going to end up just fleshing some of this stuff out and seeing if I can create something with it. And the notion that just drawing something that has no relative shape or form is really bad is not bad at all, because when you think about it, you look at a lot of other products out there, and especially something like Apple. Apple has somehow really mastered the art of using simplistic shapes. I mean, if you look at the iPad and you look at the iPhone in itself, just the form language on an iPhone is really simple. And most of it is all coming from like the user interface for the iPhone and the technology to make these things simple or thin, boxy, whatever you can think of here. And so what I'm doing right now is kind of laying out what I want to do. It looks like my perspective line here is a little bit off, so I'm going to correct that here. So the next thing is trying to figure out, what am I really drawing here? And some of the things I'm doing here is just really guesstimating. But essentially what we're doing is just creating some forms and some cut lines, which is the basis of form development here. So let's just say, for instance, what do I want to do here? So we're going to round this off here. So we got a radius here, which means this will have to have a radius, and this will have to have a radius. And then I'm going to add the radius here as well. And we're going to go to that corner. And when you start drawing those parallel lines, and you do it often enough, they're going to come in handy. The objective when you're drawing these parallel lines is to make sure that you're able to hit these details accurately. So what happened here was that when I added that radius, or that tangency point, all this gets sort of cut back. And when you have a tangent point, you draw another line here to kind of define where the tangency point is on your radius. And I'll do the same thing here, making sure that this is somewhat parallel to this. And like so. I think that's right. Yeah, it looks okay. So this is all about basics. Fundamentals and basics. When you look at this, even this top portion can be like an iPhone. And then, let's see. So I hate to say it here, but I'm going to cheat as I get up my scale. Alright, so I'm just going to make sure that these cut lines here are accurate. And round this thing off, and then I can do these in by hand. So this is maybe a hinge point. So when you get a section through here, you're going to have this you want to define that there's a cut line. Same thing when you're going about it here this way. Easiest way to indicate that is to draw that section so that you know there's a cut line. And as we do that, you can look at, let's see, we can just add more cut lines here. Remember, you got to be very aware that you're running all these things fairly parallel. All right, you don't want to go off at an angle this way because everything has to be in line with your perspective. And then now we'll just keep this line as it is. And okay. Then we're going to go with this. So essentially what you have is, this is looking kind of like it's either a phone or even a laptop, you can say. And then you've got, you can just put in your USB connector here. Okay. We'll make sure that the power cord is behind, since I've got zero real estate here. It's too late for me to do anything with that. Okay. Now this is boxy. I'm going to go here, just make sure I reinforce my lines. Oops. I can always come back with some marker here as well. So then you can have, even on this side, let's just say that I'll make sure I've got the right perspective. So here you're going to add some sort of a latch or a button that's going to release. So what I'm trying to show you, or why this is important, is that even with basic shapes and forms, making sure that you got consistency in your application, is that even with something as basic and simple as this, you can create something. And these are the exercises that you typically work on in school that allow for you to understand what these shapes are doing. Okay? You can add, this can be turned into something else. Another example, what we'll do is that we'll go in and start adding some more radiuses and things like that. But by and large, all I wanted to show you here is just the value in being able to draw boxes, and that when you're drawing boxes in simple forms, it doesn't have to be about drawing all these creative shapes, because your mind just hasn't adjusted itself to really understand how those shapes work. But if you start to look at the boxes and start adding little radiuses and understand the mechanics behind the radii and how they go around the surfaces when you apply them, that's really the key. So I hope you enjoyed this particular video. We'll see you next time, drivenmavens.com. Have a good one.